without saying goodbye. I was a lead engineer at a renewable energy startup that had high stakes, intense deadlines, global clients. I wasn't just good. I was the one they called when the system failed. But to my family, I was invisible. We hadn't spoken since 2017, so when my phone lit up one quiet November evening in 2024, I froze at the name. Aunt May, the only relative who still had my contact. "Jasmine," she began gently, "your parents want you to come home. For Christmas." I stared out at the New York skyline from my Soho loft. "Now?" I said. "After all this time?" "They've been asking. They said it's important." The silence that followed filled with memories I thought I'd buried. Growing up, I was the quiet one, the too serious girl, always building things out of scrap. My younger sister, Lena, was the shining light. Pageant crowns, honor rolls, daddy's favorite. I remembered the counselor's office at 14. Cold walls, warmer voice. "Jasmine doesn't need more structure," Dr. Ghosh had said. "She needs to be seen." My father had laughed. "She just likes to keep to herself." But I knew the truth. Lena got ballet recitals. I got guilt trips. On her 18th birthday, she got a diamond necklace. I got a used tablet missing the charger. Christmas was no different. My gifts were filler, tokens. Not this year. This time, they were calling me back. And they didn't know that the girl they once overlooked now runs a multinational energy company with offices on 3 continents. This Christmas, I wouldn't come empty-handed, but I wouldn't come forgotten either. Family gatherings were always a battlefield in disguise. Lena would glide through them effortlessly, charming, photogenic, endlessly praised, while I faded into the wallpaper like a misplaced decoration. That's when I found code. It started with a flyer pinned crookedly to the guidance counselor's corkboard. "Girls Who Code, Room 108, Wednesdays after school." I wandered in once out of curiosity and never left. For the first time in my life, the world made sense. Not the people in it, but the structure. The logic, the certainty. That little room became my sanctuary. We built Frankenstein computers from salvaged parts. We swapped tutorials, compared bugs, and stayed late troubleshooting each other's passion projects. I even coded my first mobile app on a shared desktop with a cracked screen. One day, Miss Baines, our advisor, took me aside and said, "You don't have to shout to be heard. You just have to build something they can't ignore." By age 18, I had a plan. Escape Toronto and design my future. Lena had already been accepted into a polished marketing program in London, funded by our parents without a second thought. Then came the infamous Christmas dinner of 2008. My dad lifted his glass, to Lena, off to London to make her mark. Applause circled the table. "Jasmine," my mother added with a stiff smile, "is considering some sort of tech path. Fingers crossed." Uncle Raymond chimed in. "Well, there's always IT support. My office needs help with printers," laughter, even for my parents. But I didn't laugh. Because by then I'd already been accepted, with a full scholarship, to one of the best computer science programs in New York. Tuition, housing, living costs, all covered. I packed my things quietly and flew out. I worked nights at a noodle bar, graduated top of my class, joined a climate tech firm straight out of school. By 2021, I was leading product on a $30 0-cents Smart Grid initiative. The signing bonus? More than enough for a down payment. That's how I bought my Fort Greene brownstone. Exposed brick, sunlit office nook, 2 subway stops from the Brooklyn Bridge. And this December, I threw a housewarming party. No formal place settings, just friends, code nerds, survivors. We sat on floor pillows, ate dumplings from cartons, laughed about broken routers and broken hearts. Ava raised her glass. "To Jasmine," she said. The girl they overlooked. Until she rewired her world. We clinked glasses. I smiled, but part of me was already elsewhere, counting down the days. I was flying back to Toronto in a week. But not as the girl they once dismissed. This time, I was returning as someone who had built her own name, on her own terms. The week before Christmas 2024, I took a few days off, wrapped up curated, thoughtful gifts in minimalist craft paper, and boarded a flight to Pearson International. From there, I rented a car and drove to the neighborhood I hadn't seen in nearly 7 years. The house looked smaller, paint faded, gutters sagging, the lawn a patchwork of snow and dead grass. I rang the doorbell, pulse steady but fingers cold. Footsteps approached, then the door opened with a creak. "Jasmine," my mother blinked at me. "You came." A stiff hug followed. "You look successful." Inside, everything smelled the same, lemon-polished dust and that ancient pot of cinnamon-scented potpourri that had sat unmoved for a decade. The living room was crowded, conversations dulled to silence as heads turned. "Well, look who made time for us," someone murmured. "Is that cashmere?" another whispered. I glanced down, tailored wool trousers and a Burberry coat. Quiet confidence, but still misunderstood. Then Lena appeared, hand in hand with her fiancé. "Everyone, meet James, my future husband. And yes," she placed a hand on her belly, "we're expecting—" "Congratulations," I said, with a polite nod. She smirked. "Still doing that tech thing?" "I am," I answered evenly. Of course he was, and of course I would be. The evening unfolded like a well-rehearsed play, each relative with their usual role. Aunt Teresa found me beside the wilting cheese board. "Lena is launching her own lifestyle brand," she beamed. "Such vision! And you're still in that tech stuff?" "I develop energy software," I said simply. She tilted her head, confused. "Oh, like electricity bills and things? Sounds practical." Uncle Dave nudged me near the oven. "We've got an opening at the garage. Pays minimum wage, but it's solid work." "Thanks," I said. "I'm all set." At dinner, they placed me at the edge of the table by the swinging kitchen door. Crumbs and eye rolls. Lena, of course, owned the center. "This brand's going to change everything," she declared, gesturing dramatically. "We just need a little capital to start up." "How much?" Dad asked, fork midair. "About $250,000, 0 cents to get through the first quarter," Lena replied confidently. I nearly laughed into my wine. Classic influencer fantasy with no business plan. "We'll find a way," Mom said, clutching her hand. "We support each other." After dinner, she handed me a single fleece blanket and pointed toward the air mattress in the den. Christmas morning arrived with Lena and James rushing down like it was 1998. The gifts towered. They opened mine. Clean lines. Useful luxury. "Jasmine, this is— wow," Mom whispered, cradling her cashmere scarf. Then my turn came. And there was nothing. Mom gasped, overacted and off-key. "Jasmine, we completely forgot." Lena burst into giggles. "Just like when we were little." "Try not to cry this time," she winked. "You're grown now." But I didn't feel sad or angry. I just felt done. And very, very clear. "Tech?" Lena laughed. "Like those app tester jobs or call center stuff." She turned to James. "Jasmine was always different." I simply smiled. "Something like that." Mom clapped. "Dinner's almost ready. Jasmine, the guest room's full, so you'll be on the air mattress in the den." "Perfect." "I'm not gonna cry," I said evenly, reaching into my handbag. "Actually, I got myself a pretty great gift this year." I pulled out a sleek silver keychain and held it up. The brushed steel glinted under the chandelier's light. Mom squinted. "What's that?" "Keys," I said simply. "To my new condo. I closed last week." The room fell into stunned silence. Dad blinked. "You bought property?" "With my own money," I said, "from work." I took a sip of water before continuing. "My firm just licensed an energy optimization suite I developed. A major utility company rolled it out nationwide. My share was solid." Mom's brow furrowed. "How solid?" I gave a mild shrug. "About $150,000, 0 cents, after taxes." You could have heard a spoon drop. Lena's eyes darted between me and her fiancé. Dad stared like I'd just announced I was royalty. $150,000, 0 cents? Mom echoed, her voice tinged with disbelief. What kind of job gives out bonuses like that? I told you, I said calmly. I'm a lead developer. I build software platforms for smart grids. Our clients include energy companies, governments, and Fortune 500s. Dad leaned forward. How long have you been making money like this? Since I graduated. My base salary's been 6 figures for years. Bonuses just vary, and that's when the energy shifted. Mom stood abruptly, her tone all honey. Sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We're so proud of you. Dad grinned toward Lena. Did you hear that? Your sister's working with global clients. Lena stiffened. James leaned in, murmuring something only she could hear. Mom scooted closer. So, tell us about this condo. How many bedrooms? 2 bed, 2 bath, Fort Greene, a block from my office. Mom beamed. We should come visit. Family should stay close, right? I nearly laughed. Family? After nearly a decade of silence? Actually, I said, rising to my feet, I've got an early flight back to New York. Mom reached for my arm. You just got here. Stay a few more days. Dad nodded. We haven't even had time to talk about your success. As I gathered my things upstairs, I could hear hushed voices drifting from the kitchen, murmurs laced with urgency. When I came back down, rolling my suitcase behind me, they were waiting in the foyer. Those 2 bright smiles stretched across familiar faces. Before you leave, Dad said, stepping forward, we wanted to discuss Lena's business launch. As she mentioned, she's looking for just a little seed capital. Lena smiled like she was offering me the favor. It's a lifestyle brand, sustainable, very now. You'd be an early investor. How much? I asked, already knowing. Just $200,000 your cents, she said sweetly. With your bonuses, it's really not a big deal, right? I looked at them, my parents who once offered me a pull-out couch the same day they paid for Lena's London tuition. My sister who mocked my hoodie and startup job, and her fiancé, still avoiding eye contact. No, I said. The smiles fell instantly. What do you mean no? Mom asked sharply. I mean, I'm not giving you money. But we're family, Dad protested. I folded my arms. Where was that family when I got a part-time job at 17, while Lena got driving lessons and designer bags? That was a different time, Mom muttered. We didn't have extra then. You had it for Lena, I said quietly. And this time, no one denied it. Lena showed promise, Mom snapped, then quickly softened. I mean, we just thought a more practical path would suit you better. I picked up my bag. I need to go. You ungrateful brat, Lena suddenly snapped, after all this family has done for you. I paused at the doorway. What did you do? Raise me? Feed me? That's called being a parent, not a savior. And even then, you made sure I knew I was second tier. I stepped outside as the 3 of them followed, still throwing words after me. You'll regret this, Mom yelled. I won't, I said, and for once it felt true. By the time I reached the highway back to the airport, my phone began to buzz. Calls, texts, guilt-laced paragraphs. I stopped at a gas station, sat in the car, and blocked them all. Back in Brooklyn, I poured a glass of wine and leaned on the railing of my Fort Greene balcony, watching the soft glow of the skyline wrap around me like a second skin. Ava texted. Heard what went down. Want me to fly up there and throat punch someone? No need, I typed back. Honestly, this is the best gift they've ever given me, clarity. She sent a laughing emoji. Your mom's already blasting the family group chat, says you refuse to support your sister. Let her talk, I replied. That night, I slept better than I had in years. By morning, new messages flooded in, not from Mom or Lena, but from distant cousins, aunts I barely remembered. How could you turn your back on family? Lena just needs help. You're being cruel. I blocked them all, every last one. Except Ava, who called that evening. Jasmine, she sighed, your mom's lost it. Says you're rich and selfish now. I sipped my coffee. Sounds like she finally noticed. She's telling people you've forgotten where you came from. Of course she is, I said. God forbid they admit the daughter they dismissed actually made something of herself. Ava's voice softened. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. It's worth a lot, I told her. You're the only one I care to stay connected with. Are you really okay cutting the rest off? Ava, I said gently, I cut them off 8 years ago. This just made it official. That evening, I met up with friends at our usual spot in Fort Greene, a cozy wine bar with velvet seats, flickering candles, and jazz low in the background. I told them everything. Good riddance, Kendra said. That kind of energy will rot you from the inside. Will you miss them? Someone else asked. I paused, letting the question settle. No, I think I've been mourning the version of family I never actually had. Now, I'm just closing the chapter. I lifted my glass. To chosen family. To chosen family, they echoed, glasses clinking. Just as I smiled, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I flipped it face down without a second thought. 6 months later, the summer sun warmed the Brooklyn skyline. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching joggers pass and dogs tug at leashes. It felt like I'd finally stepped out of a shadow I didn't realize I'd been standing in. Ava still called once a week, not out of obligation, out of care. Lena's baby was born last month, she said one day. They named her Madison. That's nice, I replied, and meant it. I hoped that little girl would grow up knowing she mattered. Last I heard, Lena and James were still living with my parents. The brand launch, still just talk. Even the extended family was growing tired of the story. Apparently, my parents had turned my betrayal into a tragic little performance, served cold at every holiday dinner. I was now the ungrateful daughter who abandoned them, despite all their supposed sacrifices. Meanwhile, my life? It had become something I wouldn't trade for anything. About 3 months after that Christmas disaster, I met Ethan at a cafe near my office. A freelance designer with an easy laugh and quiet strength, he understood deadlines, boundaries, and the grief of walking away from people who never saw you clearly. He'd done it too. Work had only grown more fulfilling. I was promoted to lead systems architect on a major AI-powered security rollout. The salary bump was nice, but the real reward was autonomy. I was building something that mattered, with a team that trusted my judgment. I had what I used to dream about from that creaky futon in the basement of my childhood home. Then, about a month ago, Lena somehow found a way to reach my new number. Hey, Jasmine, she said with brittle cheer. Thought maybe we could reconnect? What do you need? Well, Madison should really meet her aunt and things are tight. The house needs repairs. Oh, you don't even know what I'm asking. Doesn't matter. She snapped. I hung up. Block the number. Now, as I sip my morning coffee beside Ethan, I feel one thing. Peace. They said I'd never have love, stability, or success. They were wrong. Safe place? It's home, finally. They still tried to reach me, through distant cousins, old neighbors. My favorite was Aunt Tressie's voicemail, "Family is forever, Jasmine." But I'd already walked away. I wasn't turning back. Ethan and I were planning a trip to Kyoto next month. Language lessons, shrine routes, ramen spots bookmarked. Ava message, "Your mom saw your post, said it figures you'd rather travel than help family." Good, I replied. Maybe now she'll finally get it. I was just promoted to head of engineering. Top tier salary. My boss said, "You earned this." We toasted with champagne. My phone buzzed again. "Your mom thinks you're laundering money." I laughed. Let them rewrite the NAR. I'm living mine. If you've ever felt invisible in your own, my advice? Dowie subscribe. Let's rise together.